Hi everybody, how are you? So today is May 19th, 2016, and I am here to share with you my first Stitch Maynia experience. So, to start it all off, I had a ton of fun. It was awesome, and I am so glad that this year was my first year. As I mentioned in my plans video, I kind of found out about it at the very tail end of the month, so I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway, but I was really geared up and excited for it this year. Now, since it was my first year, I decided to go with the original format of 15 new starts, one start every day for the first 15 days of the month. And I was very happy that I was able to start everything I planned. I didn't exactly start it in the same order I planned, but I got all the projects I wanted to get done. Now, don't mind if you hear a little bell every now and then. I just took my dogs out, and there's a bunch of ducks outside. And you know what they want to go do? They want to go chase the ducks. I'm not going to let them do that. The ducks deserve some peace. They deserve some peace. So you might hear that a little bit too often, but they have gone out, so hopefully they will not get too frustrating with that. Anyway, also, I'm getting over being sick, so if you hear a little clearing of the throat here and there, it happens. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share with you in the order that I actually did the projects and not so much the order I planned, and I even threw in one extra start one of the days, so I'll share that with you as well. Let's get going. Okay, so on May 1st, I decided to start 7 Seas, which was a design from the March 2016 Cross Stitch Collection magazine. And of course, I'm not prepared. I don't have the issue number, but that's okay. I'll insert it somewhere over here when I'm editing the video. And that way you'll be able to look it up also by number. And so I decided to, let me show you what that's gonna look like finished since I have the digital subscription. So I'm gonna insert a picture here. And I got this much done on my start. Let me fold that in half. So it is the first half of one of the globes right there. So this is stitched on 28 count cashel linen in Vintage Country Cream. And I have to tell you, before Maynia, I'd done very little work on linen. I wasn't necessarily scared of it per se, but I'd heard that it's not an even fabric, that there's slubs and it might not be, perfectly spaced out. And in my head, I was like, oh no, like why would I want that to be uneven? Can I breathe? I can breathe. So I'm like, no, I don't know if I'm gonna try linen. It's, it's gonna look like crazy and it's not gonna be even. And I mean, obviously that makes no sense. You guys wouldn't stitch on linen if it was like obviously like an X this big and then an X really tiny. So, I tried it out. It's totally fine. It's not perfectly even, but it's minuscule. You wouldn't even notice. So I'm perfectly fine with linen. I'm definitely finding that the Zweigart linen is definitely more comfortable to work with than the Witchelt linen, which is a little drier and scratchier. But overall, I'm fine with the linen. Even weave is still my favorite, but I'm fine with linen. So I am really excited, and I'm glad that worked out because I have quite a few linen pieces that I did in Maynia. So whatever I had with linen is gone now because I did like a ton of pieces with linen. So that was my day one. Following that, on May 2nd, I started a design that I am so excited I got to start. I bought this design, I believe it was the tax sale of Heaven and Earth. It was 50% off. And sorry, she like really wants to go chase those ducks, but we're not gonna go do that right now. And I have been seeing this design for a really long time, so I finally decided to go for it. I'm gonna insert a picture of that here. It is Kate Powell's Butterfly Effect. So I'm so glad that the mini was available so I could just straight up buy it. You can request minis, by the way, if you didn't know that. I found that out recently, but it does take some time and they're not readily available. So I'm just so happy because I am not to the point yet where I want to do a full-size Heaven and Earth. I just have too much I want to stitch, and those are going to take forever. And there's also other large designs from other companies that don't have anything like a mini available. So if I want to stitch one of those, that would just add. So I am just very happy that it is full, it is not the full size, but the mini. The other reason I wasn't sure I was going to be able to start it, I thought maybe at the very end of Mania, is because I ordered a hand-dyed fabric for it, because it's actually one of the few Heaven and Earths that don't have a full background. So I thought it would look really awesome on a hand-dyed, and you saw from the picture it's mainly black and white, and the bottom there's some color. There are some drips going down. I'm actually thinking of not doing the drips, because in my mind I pictured it without the drips. So when I went to go buy it, it was, I'm like, oh wait, there's drips there. I don't know if I like the drips. I just kind of like it ending at the butterfly. So I think I'm just gonna do that. But either way, I ordered this hand-dyed fabric. It is from an eBay seller, so the fabric was dyed already, but regardless, she does take a lot longer to ship. I bought from her a few different times, and it kind of just depends when you buy your fabric. That that she, if it's close to when she usually ships, then you're good. If not, you kind of have to wait a little while. And she does have it on her site, so at least this takes longer than the 10 days that people can usually take up. I mean, most sellers will ship within 3 to 5, but she does say so. I must have caught her right before she shipped, because I got this like 2-3 days later. It was awesome. So I made it my day 2 start. And enough rambling, let me show you what it is. So not a very large start, as most of these are probably not going to be, as you'll see. But this is my start. This is a solo dye by Silk Weavers, but it's a mixture of white, purples, blues, and like maybe a hint of like minty green. Now the curtain is hitting it. I might have to pause this in a second and see if I can move that a little bit. But there's my start there. It's not very much. It's just the very middle top of her hair here. And I was actually able to cut this piece down. The seller sells a minimum of fat quarters, unless it's just a very small leftover piece. But on average, she sells just fat quarters and fat halves. So I was able to kind of decide where I wanted to cut, and I cut it like this because the butterflies will be, let me just fold this. The butterflies are going to be down here, so it's a little bit whiter there, and I think it'll look better since that's the more colorful part. So they'll still have the background that kind of looks like sparkly sky, because this is an opalescent 25 count Lugana. But you'll see the top is more of the blues and the purples, so that'll be more sky. And then the white part will allow the color of the butterflies to kind of stand out a little bit more than if it were on the colored part of the fabric. So I'm really very excited about this project. I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to get back to it, but regardless, I am very happy that I started it and that it did have a mini available. On day 3, I started the April block of the Magical Creatures calendar. So I'm going to insert a picture of what that block looks like here. And I'm going to show you my progress, which is very small. And yes, I know it's May, but April was an extremely busy month for me. So I actually didn't finish the March block until April, and then April I just decided to wait. I'll probably either catch up by the end of this month or definitely in June, and then I'll be able to go back to doing it every month. So this is the top of the tree here. I just did a few rows, and I'm doing it in a variegated color by DMC. I don't have the number on me, but I can insert that somewhere, probably here again, just so that you can see what it was. But yeah, that's the block. It's a very small block, so I think it'll be easy to just finish that up quickly. I can at least finish April this month and at least only be 1 month behind instead of 2. Alright, on May 4th, I did a really interesting stitch. It's a very different type of stitch for me. It's an Etsy pattern from Stitch Fusion, and it is interesting because I found it when I was looking for a pattern for my husband, who's dabbled just a tiniest bit into cross stitch, and he did like a really little pattern like this, and I wanted to find a Star Wars pattern that was a little bit bigger, so I was searching for that pattern and I found this one. And I am a big fan of the Aliens franchise in general. My favorite one is Aliens, which is the second movie. The third and the fourth movie, I know some people are like, they just, no. Like the third was and then the fourth, people try to say it didn't exist. I think each one has its audience, but my personal favorite is the second one because the first one is a classic, and while very good, it does start very slow. And the momentum after it starts, it's amazing, but I really like that Aliens just has a lot happening. It happens quicker, and there's also a lot more aliens involved. So I'm going to insert a picture of what that's going to look like here. And this is where I got. And I haven't actually cut this. It's not going to be anywhere near this big, but I'm going to actually fold it over on this. Oh, just a fiber. Thought maybe I got a mark on it. And I started on the first alien there. Now, I had a lot of fun stitching this. I think it went fairly quickly. I got 2 colors done. I got some of the gray done in his head, and then the black. This is actually, I have a marker there because the text starts there, so that's not the middle. It'll probably go maybe up to a little past the line, maybe like till there, and maybe a little bit bigger. So it's not going to be this, you know, this whole thing. It's just going to be probably like from here to about here, and then till about like right there. So I definitely plan on watching Aliens and having like an alien stitch session with this piece. Maybe not right away, or maybe I'll watch the first Alien and then the second, the actual Aliens where this quote is from, because down where the tracker is, there is just a buttload, a ton of black. So it's not exactly my favorite thing to do, even though sometimes it is a nice break to just have a big block of color, but that's like a huge block of black. So it'll be nice to have something interesting to watch, the movie, while I stitch. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to doing sometime in the future. We'll see when I pick that back up. But I'm excited I started it. It's different, it's fun. I love that quote. I love the character that says it. It was just, I saw that and I just knew I had to have it. Yeah. All right, so moving on to May 5th. May 5th, I started one of the inspirational words by Joan Elliott. This is love. And all of these she's got charted by DesignWorks. She does have some, I haven't seen all of the patterns on her website. It's possible that there are, but I know she has four of the words in her Bewitching Cross Stitch book, which I do have. But when I got it, I'd already purchased a lot of the kits by DesignWorks, so I decided to keep it consistent, just so like the floss colors would match up, etc. So this is what it looks like. I've started one other of these in my like January starts, which I did 7 starts. The first 7 days I started Believe. And today, May 5th, I started Love. So I started and I got this part up here done. And I'm telling you, when you first see these floss colors, I'm like, how does that transition into, it doesn't even look like it could. I mean, it looks different from what this picture shows. So I was like, I don't know if this is right. And that's why I considered using just the pattern and using DMC floss. But I'd already started it. I already owned the kit, so I'd have to sell them or something. So I just decided to go for it. And it actually looks all right. We actually have needle and thread hanging off of this, off the back of this still. But that's okay. So this is where I got to, the top curve of the L, and if you can see that from far away, it does kind of transition really well. You want to know what? There's 6 colors in that. 6, and that's not a lot of stitching for 6 colors. So this and its partner, Believe, or one of its partners, the only other one I've started are going to be 2 of my Wine and Whips in June, because while I love the effect, having to change colors like every 10 stitches is kind of a pain. But I love the effect. I think they're going to look beautiful. I really want to frame them in sort of a collage type frame, but I think I'm going to have to somehow make my own. Maybe buy a bunch of wooden frames myself and glue them together or something, or hammer them together with some nails. I don't know, because all the collage frames I've ever looked at have both vertical and horizontal, and all of these are horizontal, so I think I might have to make my own. But other than that, I'm using everything that's included in the kit except the Ada. I decided to switch it out for 16 count just to make it a little bit smaller. and that way it would fit 4x6 frames instead of 5x7 frames because it's humongous. There are 6 of these words in these types of cool colors, but there are 2 that are in warm colors, kind of like red, orange, and green. So I might frame those either separately, or if I do it together, those 2 might go in the middle, and these with that are in the cool colors would somehow go around it. So I'll have to figure that out. But I am excited that I got it started, even though originally I thought I would start one and finish one and keep going. But since Stitch Maynia was coming up, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go ahead and start it. At least one other one, and that way I could just have a go ahead on 2 of them, and now I have 2 whips for wine and whips that I can work on, and hopefully, I think if I get the lettering done, I'm not going to mind the stuff around it too much. I mean, there is some jumping around because of the way the stitches are, but it's really the change of the colors that was driving me bonkers. It's fun, but it's kind of a lot, so I have to be kind of in the right mood for this. Sometimes I just don't want to be switching colors and I want to keep going, which is when something like the aliens would come in handy, where I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to move that curtain. She's not even ringing the bell, she's just bumping into the curtain, which is hitting the bell. But yeah, so that is love, and that was my May 5th start. So May 6th was the day that I decided to start 2 things. And the reason was because I was going to be traveling to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Universal Studios, Florida. And I was really excited because it was my very first time going. I'd gone to the Wizarding World in Islands of Adventure, which is the older and original part that they had set up. And then the part in Universal Studios came later. And if you're not familiar with these 2 parks, they are in the same area, and they're set next to each other. So what they did is they added the section in Universal Studios is supposed to represent London when they go to Diagon Alley and when they go to platform 9 3/4. So, and then the part in Islands of Adventure was they actually got to Hogwarts. So they have Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. So they also did a thing where they have a train ride. It's supposed to represent the Hogwarts Express, and I didn't get to go on that part because you have to have a park-to-park ticket, and I just had a Universal Studios ticket. So whatever, I was okay with it because I've already gone to the Islands of Adventure ones more than once, definitely. But I am kind of bummed that they missed out on the train thing. I mean, I wish there was some way that they could do the, like, I guess, I don't know, maybe there's just not enough security available where, like, you could ride it, and then if you don't have the park-to-park ticket, you just have to ride it back instead of being able to go into the park. But what can we do? So I wanted to take something Harry Potter to work on at the park and start at the park because I'm a nerd like that, and I would like to do that. And I do have a Harry Potter piece that I'm working on for Mania that was already set up, but it was just too big. I work on it in an 11 by 11 Q-step, and it's bigger than the Q's. Like, I have fabric rolled up, there's a hair clip involved. I just don't want to take that whole big thing to the park. So I wanted to get something small to start, but I didn't want to get rid of the start I'd already had planned. So I started that very early in the morning before we hit the road, and it's a very tiny start, but it is a start nonetheless. And so I'm going to show you that first, and that is Glory of Autumn. This is a kit by Dimensions, and it's quite popular. I got it on like a super sale. It was like $11 or $12 on Amazon, and that's not the usual price, but it was on a very good discount. So I wanted to start that. So I had my fabric and needle, everything ready the night before, just so I can make a few stitches before we hit the road because we left quite early. And I did manage to start the tiniest of starts. And this is the fabric here. It's just 14 count 8, and you can see from far away, you can hardly even tell. So I did a line of brown. That was my start. I'd say what, like maybe 20, 25 stitches? Not too bad, not a big start, but hey, a start is a start. I mean, one stitch is a start, and at least it's not one stitch, so hey. And what that is equivalent to on the pattern is this part right here of the cabin. There's like a light brown stripe and a dark brown stripe, and I did the light brown stripe there. You can kind of see it. So, yep, that was my first start of May 6th. Then I set that off to the side. I hit the road, and when I was at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, it was awesome. I'd gotten a butterbeer, and I'm not even drinking like that much sugary stuff or anything like that, so that was a special treat. Got a butterbeer. I went to the Gringotts part. It's so cool how they have this. They don't really have this in the Islands of Adventure Park. There's not really a lot of places to sit that make you feel like you're hanging out. I mean, in the Hogsmeade section, there's kind of like some tables outside the 3 broomsticks, essentially, but I think it's the 3 broomsticks that's their main, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But because the London section in Universal's like Diagon Alley, there was a lot of spots where you could just sit and it felt like you were in a shop from the story. So it was really cool. So they had a little porch section in front of Gringotts, and you could, like, people were just sitting down. Like, you'd think they kind of have that roped off or something. No, you could just sit down right in front of it. So I sat down there with my butterbeer, and I started this Mirror of Erised bookmark that I found on Etsy. I can't recall the seller at the moment, but I will insert the name right around here when I edit the video in case you want to look her up. And here's a picture of what it's going to look like when it's done. And here is my start. So this is the very edge of the mirror here. It's going to go down, it's going to go up here, and then the writing's going to be right here. So kind of looks like the top of the Eiffel Tower or something, but it is the corner of the Mirror of Erised, and this is way bigger than I needed to be, but I wanted to make sure I had enough fabric and I didn't have to worry about measuring, so I just cut a decent size, but it shouldn't be too big. It's supposed to be a bookmark. It's going to be a little bit bigger than your average bookmark, but I think it's going to be fine. I might not use it as a bookmark. I might just frame it or something. Or if I do finish it as a bookmark, I might not necessarily be using it all the time, but that's okay. So that was start 2 for May 6th. So that actually was 7 starts at that point. Every other day I did stick to just the 1 start. Okay, so May 7th and 8th was my first weekend in Mania. So I picked projects that I think would work well on a weekend that I may need more time to figure out, or that I just wanted to spend more time on. So May 7th, I started Reflections of Paris by Ink Circles, and I totally have that to show you, that I could show you, but I left it. So I'm just going to insert a picture here. And this is my start, and I decided to kind of have fun with this and go with some unique colors. So I had this teal linen from a sort of grab bag, online grab bag essentially, because basically an eBay lot that some random seller had, and it had like a piece of Ada, a couple of pieces of linen, it had something called like heather something. It was really soft mushy fabric, it had some Jobelan, it had a lot of everything. So this is the fabric that I picked, this 28 count linen. This is the dryer scratcher one I don't like, and it's also very see-through, like, hello, you can see me. Ooh. Okay, I'm done. but yeah, and I decided to stitch it also in a fun color. This is Moe's Sale Cotton in Leia from her recent Star Wars collection. So it's purple and orange, and I thought it would kind of look like a sunrise or sunset type color, so I really liked it. And I just got the middle done, no biggie, but yeah, even though it's not my favorite type of linen, I still don't mind it. I just definitely like Zweigart linen because it's a lot softer and nicer to work with, and a little bit less slubby, so a little bit more even. And I think when I finish this one, I like to do Reflections of London as well, and I'll probably keep the trend and pick maybe like either a dark red, like a wine red, or a deep purple or a deep blue linen of this same type, even though it's not my favorite, just so that they match. And pick a different Moe's Sale. So I don't necessarily want it to reflect the flag of the country or anything that reminds you of Paris or London. I just want it to be fun and different. And then you notice that it's like Eiffel Towers or Big Ben, or, you know, the characteristic buildings of that city when you actually look at the pattern, but the colors don't give it away. So that was exciting. I'm interested in getting back to this soon. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be, but I'm excited. All right, May 8th. I made sure that I left this project for a Sunday because I knew it's when I would have the most time to work on it. I was so pumped for this project. I bought it with some Christmas money, which is what I actually got Reflections of Paris with as well. And I knew that I wanted to start it, but I decided to wait till Mania. And it took some effort to wait. Especially, I did order a hand-dyed for this, and I didn't think I was gonna, I mean, I knew I was gonna get it way before Mania, but I knew it was gonna be at least a little while, so that helped. But I still got it at least a month and a half before Mania started. So I had to really wait. So that project is my first full-size memorabilia. I have worked on a Nora Corbett Bewitching Pixie, but as you guys may or may not know, they're relatively small, but the memorabilias are much larger. So this is Mermaid of Atlantis, and it is memorabilia. I'm not sure if that says MD95, but I don't know if that means, I think that means memorabilia design 95. I'm not sure if that's the number of or not, but oh my goodness, yes, there's ducks. They are seriously all about those ducks. So Whining and Belle, I promise they're fine. They just want to go out and chase ducks. I'm sorry if that's getting a little annoying. They're just interested in going out there. But what can we do? No, I'm sorry. No, we can't go chase the ducks. That's not nice. Baby ducks too, so they probably freak out. Anyway, this, I was so excited. I still am. I didn't get to stitch that much on it, but I am just super excited about it, about the fabric I chose, about the beads, about the water lilies. I'm excited about everything. I was a little bit worried about some of the darker colors, the brown in her hair and one of the water lilies maybe being a bit too dark and not work with the fabric I chose because it is a darker fabric. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna see if I can calm them down. So I have to tell you, I was really happy when I checked it out and tried to, you know, place some of the floss over the fabric and check out like how the colors looked. I think it's gonna be fine. And even as some of it seems like it's gonna get lost, I think once it's stitched together as a whole, the colors around it will bring out whatever dark colors might be there. So the fabric I picked from it is from Chromatic Alchemy. It is also a linen, and this was my first linen. I actually got this before I got the Village Country Cream linen, and I went to get it in Even Weave in Lugana because that's what I like to stitch on. And then I realized that the fabric could be much lighter than what I wanted. So I decided to get the linen and figured I would just tough on through it, and now I'm glad I don't really have to tough through it. It's just gonna be fine because I really wanted this effect. So this is Chromatic Alchemy Flotsam and Jetsam linen, 32 count. And I picked it because I like the idea of this looking like she's way deep underwater, like Atlantis is, and that it's kind of like darker down there because it's so deep in the ocean. So even though light is coming through the water, it's still relatively dark. So that was my idea. So here is the piece as a whole. It is a fat quarter, and there is my start. So I did quite a bit of her tail, 2 different greens of her tail, and I even started on some of the skin. And I am doing it 1/1. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. I can definitely see how it's going to be tedious, but I think what I'll do is I'll alternate between the skin and something else. So there are the stitches. I feel like the light is making this look a little bit weird, and it goes a little bit on the bottom there. That's just a light green. Then right here, I actually started with some of the darker green in between that light green. And as you can see, that one does get lost a little bit, but I think it's gonna look fine. I feel like my stitches don't look super nice, but I think that's because the floss was a little bit yucky. And by the time I realized it, I cut the like yuckier looking part off. But but I really didn't want to unpick this, so I think overall it's going to look fine. And then the 1/1 stitching is there. So I'm excited. I wish I'd gotten back to this, but I had so many starts planned that I didn't have a chance to pick it up. But this will get picked up soon again, because I was very happy to start this. I was super excited to start this. I actually, for some reason, I got up really early that day, like dawn. And I stitched for a few hours, like way early in the morning, went back to sleep, and then picked it up again later and stitched some more again. So definitely excited about the Chromatic Alchemy fabric. I'm definitely looking to getting some more, but I'll have to wait and see. I'm sorry, like my hair gets so fuzzy. I'm always so conscious about it being fuzzy, but what can we do? I live in a very, very hot place, and it's extremely humid today. So even though I've been inside for a bit, it's still kind of, but yeah. So that was the first half of Maynia. Since I had 16 starts, that was, actually that makes it 9, because that was on May 8th. No worries. So May 10th, I started on number 1 of 2 stocking. This is one by Janlin. It is called Santa's Stuff. And this is one finish that I have to have by the end of the year. I don't 100% have to have it, but I'd like to have it. This was, I didn't know I was going to be stitching any more stockings. I already have another stocking planned for somebody else, and they'll probably know who it is if they watch this video, but I'm not going to mention it from now on, who it's for whenever I do show that one. That was the only one I planned on stitching this year, and then my aunt-in-law asked me if I could stitch one other one, so I said fine, but thankfully it's not full coverage, so I think it's going to go fairly quickly. So it's not going to say Steven, it's going to say a different name on there, which I won't say for privacy reasons, but I started in the middle, and I am getting way braver with gridding. One, it does really take a while, so I reserve it for projects where I really think I'm going to get use out of the gridding. I think because this one, the way it's set up, I think I'm going to have enough references to be able to do it without necessarily having to grid. And one of the reasons I like to grid is because I usually like to start in the top corner, and I don't want to start too high or too low with these kit fabrics, because if I start too close to the corner, I won't be enough room, and then I'll end up with all this extra that I didn't really need all along. You're not going to chase ducks. Thank you. Interesting video today, but normally my husband's like playing with them or something, but he's not home yet, so they're here because I don't want to be mean and lock them up or anything, but they are going crazy with those ducks, so didn't realize those ducks would be there. Anyway, so normally I grid and I start at the middle and work my way up at least halfway so that I can at least start at the corner and it's exactly where it should be. But I didn't want to take the time to grid. So I just decided to start in the middle, and it actually worked out. Is this fabric? This is not even in here. It's totally in my office. I'm gonna have to be right back. Just hold that thought, even though for you it'll be like not even a second, but I'll be right back. Okay, so sorry about that. So it's actually still in this hoop, which by the way, this hoop, I don't know. I just got it to try it. It's one of those inexpensive wood ones from Joann's. It's okay. It has okay tension, but it doesn't stay. So I just wanted something. I want to try and find a hoop that I really like. I do prefer Q-snaps, and I think I'm gonna prefer scroll frames. Overall, that's gonna end up being my favorite. But I like having a hoop. I like having all three for specific projects and reasons. But anyway, enough of that. So not my favorite, but I still want to use it. I mean, it was a couple dollars, so it's no big deal. But I started right in the middle on Santa's apron. And there's a ton of that green. So clearly it's going to be in a lot of the project. Well, I see why. I think it's because of this down here. Yeah, so that is right this corner here and this first pocket. And I am so sorry. This is the time I had to record, but they are going crazy with the bell and the ducks. They're very good at using the bell when they need to go out to use the bathroom, which is great because they took a while to get them trained, but you know, now every time they want to go outside, they ring the bell and they're like, and I'm like, what? And they're like, I rung the bell, take me out. And I'm like, I know it's because you want to go chase ducks. You went and peed like 10 minutes ago. So yeah. But that is my start. I'll get back to this soon. I kind of have to. I'll probably get it done in the summer months where I am not as busy as I am during some of the other months of the year. Yeah, no, you're not going out, honey. You just want to go chase the ducks? We can't do that. That's not nice. Okay. Where am I? May 10th. May 10th, I decided to start Snowflower Diary Stitch Along. This is a month-to-month stitch along. You know, it's supposed to start in January. I did not, but that's okay. I figured I'd get it started. Very small start again. This is going to be quite a big piece. I have this on a fat half. I don't know if it's going to take the entire fat half, but it's definitely going to take at least a good portion of it. So I started, I'll put a picture of what that looks like here. And that is actually just the January, but obviously each month looks different. But since that's the one I started, that's the one I put. And this is 32 count Lugana in summer khaki. And I just did the corner of the January block. So I'll have to eventually get back to that. By the way, I somehow missed like one stitch there and one stitch like right here. I'll figure it out. I also didn't realize I had my pattern like this, and so I was stitching this top corner, but I was really stitching down the side. But thankfully the sides of the frame look identical, so it worked out, because yeah, that would have not been cool. So I have to get back to that. I don't know if I'll finish this year because I don't know if I'll be able to catch up. Just because I have so many other projects, and the one I really do want to finish on time is the Magical Creatures calendar, which is also a month to month. So I'm going to work on that one first and then go from there. So I'll work on this one when I can, but it probably won't be finished this year unless I can somehow get a lot of it done over the summer or something and catch it up. But yeah, so May 11th, I did Harry Potter titles. This is my own pattern. I designed it for a Harry Potter stitch along I had through a different Facebook group. And I hadn't gotten to start it because I started a different pattern on the day that this stitch along started was the day Alan Rickman passed away. So I picked a pattern that had his silver doe Patronus and the word always on it and stitched that instead. So I needed to start this one. So again, this is my pattern, so that's why you're seeing it. For the few people who have asked, which thank you, that I feel humbled and honored. I am planning on starting an Etsy shop and putting it up there. I need to look at some software, because I'm not going to like sell you like pencil drawn, I don't know, I just want it to look nicer. And I need the time to set it up, decide how much I would charge and all that stuff. But this is the pattern here. And it's basically the book titles. Just the identifying word of the title, I guess you could say. So Stone, Chamber, Prisoner, Goblet, Order, Prince, and Hallows. And each one is in a different font. I did look online and browse like, I swear, like hundreds of fonts and inspired myself by some. Some are similar to some of the fonts, but I tried to change them enough that I didn't design a whole alphabet. I just worked on the letters of the word. But I think I modified it enough so that it's different. But if they look familiar, I mean, I was inspired by fonts that are already out there, but it's different enough and they're laid out in a certain way. So I think it's still a unique pattern that I can call mine. So as you can see, I started with Chamber because here I was going crazy looking for this floss that I wanted to use for Stone. My idea is to use the color of the titles as they were depicted in the US the original US covers. So this was gold, silver, green, orange, like orange, yellow, golden orange, blue, purple, and red. And originally I was going to do them in satins, but I did something else with satins and there's no way I could do all of this in satin. It would drive me nuts. So I decided to just go with DMC cotton. So I found the perfect gold one, going crazy looking for it. I remember I'd spilled my bobbins actually the day I started Mermaid of Atlantis, and I was going crazy. I thought maybe it was under the floor, under something. I looked everywhere, it wasn't there, and I'm like, okay, I think my dogs maybe got to it. Actually, it was in my mirror of Erised, and I feel bad because I didn't get mad at them or anything, but I'm like, oh, I think the dogs got them, because they've done that a couple times before where I've left a bobbin a little too close to them and they just, grabbed it and took it. But no, so I thought it was gone. I thought I was going to have to buy a new one. Started with chamber instead. So I am on chamber. I'll have to go back and do stone. But that's what I got. This is on 16 count black Aida. This is a way bigger piece than I need, but I wanted to frame it in an 11 by 14 frame. So I want to have some large mat board around it, so I wanted to make sure the piece of fabric was big enough. By the way, this is, do I have that? I don't think I have the sticker on here anymore, but I'm pretty sure, I think this is Zweigart Aida. Guys, Aida is known for being stiff and just like scratchy, and a lot of people don't like it for that reason. This is the softest Aida I have ever worked with. It's awesome. So I have it saved in my prior purchases in eBay, and the person sells all the colors as he or she has them available. So if I ever want Aida, I'm gonna go find them. I don't even know who they are, but I'd have to go search because this Aida is nice. It's nice. So I just got the CH of chamber in a DMC silver color. So I am really excited, and this was my Harry Potter piece that I considered taking to the park, but this was just not going to work. I wasn't going to carry that all over the place, so that stayed home, and I did Mirror Bear set that day instead. All right, so we are on May 12th now. We're almost there. So May 12th, I decided to start Vision of Hope, and this is my oldest large kit. I purchased some of those smaller starter kits before, but this was my first large kit that I purchased. And then I found other kits, and then I found online patterns, and it just got pushed somewhere away. I knew she was gonna do that. No, we're not chasing the ducks. Anyway, this is called Vision of Hope. It's charted by Designworks, and it is a Joan Elliott pattern. I haven't seen this on her patterns. I've just seen it as the Designworks kit, but it's possible that it is. It was quite inexpensive. It said the price was $15.99 and it's $7.99, but I don't know if that's one of those like price bait things, because I always see these on there, so they always sell them at this price, like this size. And on the depending on the size and the complexity of the chart, they have like a $3.99, a $7.99, I think an $11.99, and like a $15.99 or a $17.99, something like that. But anyway, this is Vision of Hope. It's a dream catcher, and it says every dream is a vision of hope. And I decided I needed to start this. I had it ready to go. This floss wasn't sorted, so I sorted it. A lot of the Designworks is sorted now, but this one must be older because it wasn't, so I had to sort it. And it does come with 11 count Aida, and that's because this has got some huge beads. Look at these beads. They are big. So I considered swapping out at least for 14 or 16 count Aida, or maybe even like a 28 count even weave. But because the beads are so large, I decided to just keep the 11 count Aida, and it's fine. It's no big deal. It's not my favorite to work with, but it's okay. I can have one project on 11 count Aida, and I got the entire top row done. So all that top part from here to here is what I got done. And because this is on 11 count, it does use three strands of floss, which provides some pretty decent coverage. Now, one thing I noticed, Ellie, we're not going outside. Sammy's being a good girl. Can we not ring the bell anymore? One thing I noticed is that there's a motif here and a motif here. Look at how little space there is left there. Look how much space there is left here. Guys, I measured left and right. that was the middle. I don't know what happened. I must have started the stitch a little bit off, but even if I scooch this just a couple of stitches down, I feel then that they both would be extremely close to the end. So I don't know how I'm gonna finish this, but I mean, the design's gonna fit, but for framing, there's not a lot of room. So maybe I'm not gonna be able to frame it to finish it, or I might have to sew on some extra fabric to finish it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm glad I got that started. On all honesty, not sure when I'm gonna get back to this. It is not like the project that I'm just like dying to finish, but it was pretty enjoyable. And the stitches were on 11 count Aida, which I guess probably can help maybe if I have a headache or I'm not feeling too good because the stitches are bigger. So maybe I'll reserve that for something like that. All right, so this stocking, as I mentioned, this is what, the 14th. Did I miss one? No, that's wrong. This is the 13th. I started a Jane Netley Mayhew pattern. This book, you may have seen it on quite a few channels. Carolyn Mazzio has talked about this. Letitia, the Crafted Curator, has talked about this. Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff has talked about this. Brittany from Blimey Cat Stitches has talked about this. I think by the 5th or 6th time I saw this, I'm like, I need this book. This is an awesome book. All the stitches are awesome. And while the one I started is not my favorite one from the book, it is one of the smaller ones, and I did really like it. So I thought I'd just start it because it is one of the smaller stitches. And yeah, so I need to find it. But once I do, I will show it to you, because that's why we're here. All right, so this is called the Paradise Flycatcher. I think the actual pattern is called A Graceful Tail, as in behind, not a tail of two cities type of tail. So this is what it looks like here. And it is just this lovely bird. And he's quite fun, and fun colors, really pretty. And his head really caught my eye, those greens and blues that are part of him. I'm making sure that's in. So that's what I started. Now, this called for a sage green Aida. I did not have that fabric when I was getting ready for Mania, but I live like a hop, skip, and jump away from a Joann Fabrics. Fortunately, it's not a really big one, but it'll make do for emergencies. It has floss, and it has quite a lot of Aida. Couple of even weaves, but just a little bit of, you know, just mainly for floss. I like it to be there. And I was positive they had it, but I don't know if sage green is a Charles Crafts Aida or not. I'm thinking maybe it's a Zweigart or a Witchelt or something, because they did not have it. What they had was seafoam green, and in my head I just thought that was sage green. So when I got there, I'm like, oh no, what should I do? Should I pick a different project? Should I order it online? What should I do? I just went with the seafoam green. I think it's gonna look fine. It's definitely a lot mintier, but it'll make do. This is 14 count Charles Craft linen Aida in seafoam green. And there's my start. And I have to tell you guys, that blue 996, it's either 999, 995, or 996. Is, yeah, so the one of them is 9, like the bottom one is either 995 or 996, and then the top one is the other. That color is gorgeous. I love it. And my favorite colors are, you know, those kind of teals and blues and purple. But that color, I mean, even though my favorite color is purple, I really like aquas and teals a lot. And some greens are a close sort of fourth. She really wants to go, but I'm not going to let her go chase those ducks. Poor ducks need to not have a heart attack on their first few days of life. But yeah, that teal, there's no purple that is as cool as that aqua color right there. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, so there is my start. Not sure when I'll pick him back up, but I have the feeling it'll be relatively soon. All right, 2 more to go. So now is the stocking, and I know I mentioned that I thought I was just stitching one stocking this year, then I was asked to do the other one. Then this one, I really don't have to finish this year. This is for my sister-in-law. She has a stocking, but the poor thing is falling apart. So my mother-in-law and I decided, well, let's stitch her a new stocking. The tradition is you get a new stocking when you get married, and then you and your spouse get a matching one. Now, not sure what's gonna happen if people decide not to get married, because you know, that's a completely normal possibility, but she's still in college, so we don't even know what's gonna happen. But she needed a new one. So I think what we're gonna do, my aunt-in-law and I were talking about this recently, is if they've been upgraded to a cross-stitch stocking, because the original were the felt applique ones before these got super popular, at least until my aunt-in-law really knew about them. Then they would keep the felt one until they got married and they got upgraded to this. So I think what's gonna happen is if they do get married, we just try and find the same one and stitch it for them. And hopefully it'd still be available, or maybe at least keep the pattern so that, they're there. And then just make a matching one. So anyway, so if I don't get this one done, it's not that big of a deal, because she does have one and it'll make it one more Christmas. So, I'd do it for next Christmas, but it'd be nice if I got it finished. The other thing that might be helpful is my mother-in-law wants to stitch about half of the stocking, just so that it's from both of us, and to help out, of course. So yeah, so I decided to start it just to get it going. We'll see how far I can get. Maybe, it's not full coverage. It's mainly full coverage, but not entirely. So I think it's gonna work out. So that's what the stocking looks like there. It's called like Penguins Playing or something. Where's the name? I somehow can't find the name on here. Now I'm like, want to know what this is called. Penguin Party. Penguin Party, that's what it's called. So I started just on the top. I didn't grid it either, but I did want to stitch this one starting at the top. So what I ended up doing is I went to the middle and I just counted up with a pin and went to the middle, but the top middle. So I actually started here, then went this way and then stitch it back, then went this way and stitch it back. And I think it's a little bit short, but counting is pretty difficult. Like, not difficult, but like I think I have it right, and then I'm really scared I lost count. So I figured I do these squares of green across the top, and when I get to the end, those will be easier to check off. And then when I get done, I can see how many stitches of the gold were missing. So this doesn't seem like a super big start, but that is all gold metallic, and it's, just the one that came in the kit, so it's not the easiest to work with. So I count that as quite a lot done for being metallic floss. That was kind of a little bit of a pain to use. But it was the first color that showed up, so I decided to just stitch it and get it done. And then, on May 15th, last day of Maynia, I saved my biggest and one of the most exciting projects, and it is actually another mermaid. So this one is the Mystery Stitch Along from 2014 to 2015, I believe. It is M04 on their website, when you log on. I think you can find this now in another section, but if you look at it through the Mystery Stitch Alongs, it is M04. It's called Under the Moonlight, and it is a gorgeous mermaid with a purple tail, so that made me happy. Yeah, so I'll insert a picture of what that's going to look like here. And I'll show you my start here. Now this is on a fat half. It is 28 count. This is Calypso's K by Under the Sea Fabrics. which I had quite an ordeal with this fabric. I ordered it again as a Lugana, because at that point I wasn't sure about linen. I got it, and I'm telling you guys, the color was not what I expected. I knew Lugana dyed lighter, but the colors looked, I'm telling you, I should have taken a picture, mint green and gray. That's not what the picture. Now, Leslie is amazing. She's the person behind Under the Sea Fabrics. And for a lot of her fabrics, she does have the Lugana, or like the even weave dye, and the linen dye. But this one only happened to have the linen. So I thought, okay, maybe it'll be a little bit lighter, but I'm okay with that. And I got it and I was like so bummed. And this was not Under the Sea Fabric or Leslie's fault. I just didn't know it was gonna look so different, so I emailed her and I was like, oh my goodness, like it came, but it's not what I expected at all. Like I thought it'd just be lighter, but it looks like different colors. She exchanged it for me. So I think as long as you don't cut the fabric, or it's not messed up in any way, you can just ship it back and exchange it and pay a difference if necessary. I actually didn't have to pay a difference because I paid for my own shipping instead of requesting like a return slip. So she said that was even and let me do it. So I got the linen. Again, I was nervous. I was like, oh no, another linen. I'm gonna hate it. I'm fine with it. It's completely fine. So this is it here, and it is beautiful, and I'm holding it the wrong way. Here we go. So that's the top. It goes all the way down because this is a fat half to there. It is two of my favorite colors, aqua and teal. And I am really happy about this fabric. I think it's gonna look awesome. I did mention there was another fabric I considered, but I ended up not buying that fabric because I'm really happy with this one. And I just didn't feel like spending $40, $50 on fabric because fat halves are expensive when they are hand dyed. And even though this was a very exciting project, I probably started with the most drab color in existence in DMC, but together it makes the effect of what it needs to be. And that is this color right there. It's like a gray, green, mossy looking color. Not particularly pleasant, but there it is. This is part of the rock that she is sitting on. And there is more to it, but it'll be fine. It's not a super big start in the scheme of this giant piece. This is gonna take me a while, I know it is. I am probably going to feel a lot more comfortable stitching on this when I get a bigger frame. I do have an 11 by 17 skew snap. I might put it on that, but I am considering the quantum frame. And I think I'm going to possibly get that sometime over the summer. So we'll see. We'll see. I thought about the Millennium frame, but I just can't do it. I can't do the weight. Especially because I know the customer service is so, you know, everybody said you have to like pester them to get communication. And even though I know it could be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to even close to a year to get your product, I would make that easier if there was more communication. And since I know there isn't communication, I'm fine with it. The quantum frame is very similar. It's a little bit more affordable. Customer service is better, and you get it a lot quicker. So I think I'm gonna go for that instead. And this might stay on the sidelines until I do get that. Maybe I'll stitch on it a little bit here and there. I really want to limit the use of Q-snaps and hoops on my hand dyes because I know I can't wash them. Yes, I know I can iron them and help get the wrinkles out that way, or the creases, but I'd like to keep it as creaseless as possible. I do have an inexpensive scroll frame from like Joann's, but the one I have is definitely not big enough for a fat half, so I might wait on it. I might put it in the Q-snap and stitch on it a little bit more. And as long as I take it out and fold it back up and keep it folded long enough, I think that it'll kind of flatten itself out. So if I do get the urge on it to work on it, I may, but I might just wait. As much as I want to stitch it, I have a ton of stuff to stitch. More than enough. So I think I can keep myself busy until I get that frame and then go from there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed all my starts for Maynia. I had a blast. A blast. I mean, kudos to the people doing more than 15, you know, like the full month or the year of starts, just because it's a lot to have to start something every day. I don't think I could do it. I think I'd probably burn myself out. It's exciting, it's fun, it's, especially if you're planned, it's good, but I think after a while I just wouldn't want to do it anymore. I just want to, and I'd miss all the other projects I have. Now, having said that, I have a lot of projects. I counted-ish, like I estimated, and I might be like 1 or 2 projects off, but I'm fairly certain that with all these starts, I have 50 starts. Starts. For me, starts are not whips. Starts are kind of like stash. I have a lot of patterns, I have a lot of kits, especially, and some of them I don't necessarily consider whips if they're just away, but when I do want to work on them, I don't have to kit anything up. I don't have to sort any floss. I don't have to grid. It's already started. It's ready to go. So whips, I would say I work on 20-ish and consider them whips. But starts, I do have 50, and I don't really want to start anymore unless there's something that is going to be really exciting, or something that I'm going to have to get done, or if a challenge comes around. But yeah, so I am really excited I did Stitch Maynia. I am looking forward to doing it in future years. I doubt I'll do 15 starts again. I think what I'll do is something I saw another Flosstuber do. Actually, I mentioned her earlier, Brittany, Blind Me Cat Stitches. She did Stitch Maynia in the original formula last year. And what she's doing is that she is working on the whip she started last year on the day. So if, you know, May 2nd she started Mermaid of Atlantis and she hasn't finished it on May 2nd this year. So for me, May 2nd next year, in this case, May 8th next year, I would work on Mermaid of Atlantis. And on the day she started and something and has finished it, she will start something new. So I think that's what I'm going to do in the years to come. That way I can keep participating in Stitch Maynia, but I am not adding stuff. Sorry, I clicked my phone there. I'm not just adding tons and tons and tons of things, because even though I don't consider all my starts whips, I don't want to be like having crazy amounts either of started stuff, because eventually I'm going to feel the pressure to want to get it done. So that wraps up my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was interesting. I hope some of these projects inspired you to start something or pick something back up, or maybe go look at a new designer you hadn't heard of, or try a stocking, or try a different kind of fabric, or maybe you just had some fun. So if you have any questions for me, please leave it in the comment section. I will answer to you. I will answer you as soon as I can. And thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you're having a wonderful time with your projects, wonderful stitchy time, wonderful progress. If you did do Maynia in any capacity, I hope you enjoyed it or are enjoying it still. And I'll see you next time. Bye!